Cassidy Hutchinson, the Clavicle Girl, is in the middle of a new saga. She's got a new book out. She's doing all sorts of media now. But you remember her when she testified in front of the January 6th Select Committee. She said a bunch of stuff on there, kind of a bunch of interesting whoppers. Some people might call them lies. When she was saying that Trump reached across and tried to grab the clavicles of a Secret Service agent before they went to insurrect the Capitol and all this stuff. Well, Cassidy testified a lot in front of that fake January 6th Select Committee. And Andrew Weissmann, somebody who we talk a lot about here, who has a lot of comments about the Trump prosecutions, he had a tweet about Cassidy Hutchinson's performance. And here is what the tweet said. From Kyle Cheney, posted on September 15th, talking about Donald Trump being prosecuted by Big Fannie Willis, the biggest Fannie in Georgia. Cheney says this, he says, Kyle Cheney from Politico says, Fannie Willis subpoenas former DOJ official Jody Hunt to appear at Jeff Clark's removal hearing, right? And this is a separate case, removal hearing for Jeffrey Clark. Weissman, who comments regularly with Jen Psaki on MSNBC, he said Hunt also is Cassidy Hutchinson's good lawyer, meaning that the other lawyer is not so good. Not the one who coached her to lie. Andrew Weissman's statements, not mine. And he is the guy who took notes of Trump saying when Mueller was appointed, quoting him as saying F. And so it's that little statement there, not the one who coached her to lie. Uh-oh, that's a problem, right? That other attorney is saying, what? Coached who to lie over what now? What the heck are you talking about? That guy's name is Stefan Passtino, and he has filed a lawsuit now against Andrew Weissman. Here is what it looks like. Wait until you hear who this lawsuit got assigned to. The person who's going to be determining whether Andrew Weissman is innocent of this defamatory speech. But if you're not real familiar with Andrew Weissman, we've played multiple clips of this guy here. He is very excited about Trump being prosecuted. He's always on MSNBC talking about it. He's like Democrat law whisperer. They really love this guy. He tells them a lot of what they want to hear, I think. And they brought him out in front of the Texas Tribune to ask him about these prosecutions once again, right? And he says his thing and the audience claps like seals because they love this stuff. Here is what it sounds like.
Will Donald Trump be convicted of any of the crimes he's been accused of before Election Day 2024? And
yes.
Oh, you guys like that outcome? Huh. Wasn't sure.
But I also, just to go further, I think Judge Chutkan will sentence him to jail time.
Yeah, he goes all the way.
Yeah, jail. I don't think he's that far off. I think she might do it, okay? She's kind of nuts. So we'll see if he's right or not, but that's the guy that we're talking about, all right? He's getting sued. And it's the ex-lawyer for Cassidy Hutchinson. And this is what she sounded like when she was testifying in front of Congress, in case you forgot. Clavicle Girl.
Hutchinson, when you returned to the White House in the motorcade after the president's speech, where did you go?
When I returned to the White House, I walked upstairs towards the Chief of Staff's office, and I noticed Mr. Ornato lingering outside of the office. Once we had made eye contact, he quickly waved me to go into his office, which was just across the hall from mine. When I went in, he shut the door, and I noticed Bobby Engel, who is the head of Mr. Trump's security detail, sitting in a chair, just looking somewhat discombobulated and a little lost. I looked at Tony, and he had said, "Did you effing hear what happened in the Beast?"
No, what happened?
No, Tony, I just got back. What happened? Tony proceeded to tell me that when the president got in the Beast, he was under the impression from Mr. Meadows that the off-the-record movement to the Capitol was still possible and likely to happen, but that Bobby had more information. So once the president had gotten into the vehicle with Bobby, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, "We're not, we don't have the assets to do it, it's not secure, we're going back to the West Wing," the president had very strong, very angry response to that. Tony described him as being irate. The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." To which Bobby responded, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
And was Mr. Engel in the room as Mr. Ornato told you this story?
He was.
Did Mr. Engel correct or disagree?
There was no clavicle attack, okay? Clavicle Girl made the whole thing up. Nobody corroborated the clavicle attack. Donald Trump, give me the wheel, Capitol, Tony! I'm taking it back to the Capitol! Okay, it's just nonsense. It's total nonsense. And it was confirmed to be nonsense by other people who said, I don't know what the heck she's talking about. And we covered all of that at length. So when Andrew Weissmann says that she's a little bit, off her keister, not sure that he's wrong on that one. But this is now the lawsuit. He's being sued about this in DC, and the case got assigned to just the best judge ever. And so you can see this is what the lawsuit looks like. And it is brought by Cassidy Hutchinson's ex-lawyer called Stefan Passtino, 12 pages against Weissman in New York. The attorney is very unhappy. He says, Passtino is an attorney with a 30-year history of representing clients honorably and ethically. And like all attorneys, we depend on our reputation to earn a living. And Weissman is a partisan former prosecutor and a top deputy to special counsel Robert Mueller turned MSNBC, quote, legal analysts, end quote, has publicly impugned that reputation, claiming that Mr. Passtino coached his client, Cassidy Hutchinson, to lie in congressional testimony. This is an insidious lie. Mr. Passtino never coached Miss Hutchinson to lie, nor did he attempt to shape her testimony in any way. She's just a liar on her own. Miss Hutchinson even testified under penalty of law. I added that last statement in. That under penalty of law, quote, I want to make this clear to you. Stefan Passtino never told me to lie. He told me not to lie. And so Passtino says Weissman was aware of this, but still chose to smear Mr. Passtino in advance of his newfound career as a partisan political pundit. That's fun. So we got parties here. Passtino is an individual in Georgia. Weissman is in New York. They say throughout his 30-year career, Passtino has fostered a reputation of ethical, honorable representation, and he's represented some very high-profile clients. In fact, Passtino was a senior lawyer in the Trump administration. Then he went to private practice. He represented several witnesses before the J6 attack committee, including Cassidy Hutchinson. And just like every one of his clients, he did so honorably, ethically, and fully consistent with the rules. Prior to the allegations made by Weissman surrounding Miss Hutchinson, Mr. Passtino has never been accused by a client of anyone else of unethical or illegal behavior. He represented Hutchinson before the fake so-called select committee hearing at 3 different depositions, and the transcripts are all publicly available. Any review of those transcripts makes it obvious that Passtino was not attempting to obstruct or shape her testimony in any way. To the contrary, those 523 pages of testimony make clear that Mr. Passtino's only intervention were consistent with his admonitions to be honest, not to speculate, and to honor the specific question to the best of your recollection. Her testimony was entirely her own, unfettered, and in response to the questions of the committee, including her made-up clavicle story. As was readily apparent to the defendant, anyone else reading those transcripts, Mr. Passtino never instructed her to lie or to make up her statements. In fact, the committee repeatedly thanked Mr. Passtino for helping to keep this all on track. Now, even these were recorded in full. Wow, look at this. The select committee videotaped these depositions in full, which also would have demonstrated Passtino's ethical representation of Hutchinson. Unfortunately, the garbage, fake, illegally constituted according to HR 503 and their own House rules, they selectively edited these videos for use in their own televised hearings. And upon information and belief, the select committee and others working on behalf of the committee caused the full videos to be destroyed before Kevin McCarthy and the Republican Party assumed control of the congressional records. Oh my gosh! I wasn't expecting that one today. So we've got Cassidy Hutchinson's lawyer is saying that her 3 depositions were selectively edited and destroyed by the J6 committee before they turned it over to the Republicans. And certainly he would know. I mean, he was the lawyer who represented her, was there for 3 hearings. So what he has access to is now deleted. Now here we see, in a contemporaneous text message to a close friend attached here as exhibits A, B, and C, Miss Hutchinson admitted that while she did not want to cooperate with the select committee, Passtino encouraged her to do so. Here's some messages. Close friend says, hey, Cassidy, like, how on earth are they doing this to you? Cassidy says, I don't know, but I don't want to comply. Stefan, my lawyer, wants me to comply. Well, what happens if you don't comply? I'm so ducking ducking, literally ducking, done with this stuff. I don't have it in me, okay? So, man, this woman has been flipped is what it sounds like. I don't want to comply. Stefan says you have to. Says, so I want to. Stefan wants to wait till after my depot. I have to go in person next Tuesday. He doesn't think the committee will leak it. They promised us they won't, but I don't trust them. Cassidy Hutchinson doesn't trust the committee. And I want it to be our narrative that's out there first. This friend says, I got a statement locked and loaded. And if a reporter comes to you about testifying for a comment, I would call your favorite reporter and tell them immediately, go with this and have your comment. Cassidy says, I also want to give it to Maggie and Betsy Swan. Continuing says, because every time they asked me a wacko question, I made them clarify meeting participants because they were trying to get info on meetings, but with just Trump, but executive privilege. But Stefan told me it's a White House counsel's office. There we go. Every time they asked me a White House counsel's office question, I made them clarify meeting participants because they were trying to get info on meetings with just Trump, but executive privilege. But Stefan told me it's White House counsel's office plus Trump plus one or more participant. Those questions are fair game. Cassidy's explaining that to her friend. Friend says, I think you're still fine. No one has called me, so that's a good sign. Somebody says to her, I'm really upset with this. I think Cassidy is sharing a screenshot of something that she sent to somebody else. So this is Cassidy sending a screenshot back, I believe. She sends to somebody, I'm really upset with this. Somebody responds, it's terribly unfair. You didn't do anything other than respond to documents and texts they already had. You didn't give them new information. She says, this is bad. I was up till 4 a.m. I couldn't sleep. Jason's people completely ghosted me the last 2 weeks too, so now I'm back to square one there. What do I do? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Yeah, so this woman was panicked, right? And she's saying whatever anybody wants. So here, Passtino continues. He says, Miss Hutchinson's text messages make clear that she was planning independent leaks of information to major media outlets to make sure it was her narrative that was out there first, without the knowledge of Mr. Passtino. So don't say that Passtino was involved in her antics. He says these texts were also consistent with a prior exchange, which had been reported by the Daily Caller earlier. Hutchinson expressed contempt for the Select Committee. So this is an iMessage, Tuesday, Feb 1. Hey, this is Cassidy Hutchinson. Kind of a random question, but do you still work for the schlops at the ACU? Hi, yes. Do you happen to know a First Amendment fund I could reach out to? I was subpoenaed in early November, but the committee waited to serve me until last week after Ben's depot. I had to accept service because U.S. Marshals came to my apartment, but I haven't made contact with the committee. I'm on a tight timeline trying to figure out what my options are to deal with this BS. So sorry for the late response. My phone went wild since Trump got announced with people wanting to come to CPAC, right? So she reaches out from ACU. You know, there's a good possibility that if she would have gotten some good counsel, like if the Republicans had the legal infrastructure built out like the Democrats have, that she could have had, real competent legal counsel. Like if the billionaires funded, some right-leaning defense organizations, she could have gone to them and they said, yeah, we got a whole team of people. This is garbage. We've got you covered. But she didn't. So she probably just buckled, went to Liz Cheney and got a lawyer and said, what's the best way out of this for me? And, now she's selling books on the back of it. So she picked her side, but I wonder if there could have been a different future. Here, now, Passtino continues. He says, on September 14th, Ms. Hutchinson testified for a 4th time before the Select Committee, giving them whatever they want. This time, she's got new counsel. She no longer was represented by Passtino. And she said, I want to make this clear to you. Stefan never told me to lie. Hutchinson continued. She said, I just want to make it clear. He didn't say, I want you to lie and say that you don't recall on these things when I know you recall. She said again, he didn't tell me to lie. He told me not to lie. That's from her literal testimony. But despite all of this, a year and a day later, on September 15th, Andrew Weissmann, a partisan who takes every opportunity to attack anyone associated with President Trump, tell me about it, tweeted to his approximately 320,000 followers on X that Passtino coached Hutchinson to lie. Says Hunt is Cassidy's good lawyer, not the one who coached her to lie, referring to Passtino, from Andrew Weissmann, saying that he knew this to be false or he said it with reckless disregard for its falsity because the transcripts show that Mr. Passtino had done nothing to obstruct or shape Miss Hutchinson's testimony that said that Stefan never told me to lie. He told me to do the opposite. But Weissmann chose to smear Mr. Passtino because of a partisan animus and because Passtino's prior affiliation with Trump. Additionally, Weissmann attacked Mr. Passtino as a means of distracting from and rehabilitating the contradictory and uncredible aspects like the Clavicle attack that came from Hutchinson's testimony as they undermine the committee's purpose, partisan findings, and partisan purpose. Love that. It's true. Hey, don't blame the lawyer because your witness is garbage. The smear has deeply damaged Mr. Passtino's 30-year reputation and caused him to lose lose significant business and income, and he seeks to hold Weissman accountable for this vicious lie and damages that he has wrought. And so here they say all of this was incorporated, that he was not coached to lie. His statements are concerning because it's read to be about Mr. Passtino. He denies those statements as categorically false. It was viewed by 116,000 people, including people in DC, and that all of this was known in the transcripts, that Passtino did not tell her to lie, told her to tell the truth, and that this should not have been a statement that was made. It injures Passtino, damages his reputation. It's defamatory per se because it accuses him of suborning perjury, and he could be indicted for that. Wow. So he's saying, yeah, I could just be indicted right away because he's saying I'm interfering with the legal process. And it's a gross violation of attorney's ethical and professional obligations, and it deeply injures him. And so it caused him significant damage, including loss of business, income, damaging his reputation, humiliation, and mental anguish. And these damages were foreseeable. And so they want compensatory and punitive damages in the amount of $75,000. Andrew Weissman, they're saying, owes him that amount. And here for count 2, injurious falsehood, saying he spread the falsehood, also in the amount, damages $75,000, asking for compensatory punitive damages for those amounts, all submitted by Jesse Bunnell from the Bunnell Law Group against Andrew Weissman. Cassidy Hutchinson, man, that's what her testimony led to. Lawsuits in the amount of $75,000. Former Trump-associated lawyer now suing Andrew Weissman for those monetary damages. And the case landed in federal court. And guess who got assigned the case? Judge Chutkan. That's right. You're familiar with her from the other January 6 prosecutions. And so now we have to ask ourselves, what is the likelihood that Stefan Passtino has a successful shot at this defamation lawsuit? When Judge Chutkan is presiding, Andrew Weissman is defending. It's a defamation case about Donald Trump and Cassidy Hutchinson. We'll see where it goes, my friends. But Cassidy Hutchinson is out there. The saga continues. Clavicle Girl and her testimony causing lawyers to sue other lawyers over commentary about the case. The saga carries on. We'll continue to cover, my friends. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing this video with a friend, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.